So how's your week been?
Oh, my birthday was amazing.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's mine and Haley's, isn't it? So we got busy
Oh, is it Hayley's as well?
on the 19th.
Oh, I did not know that. Because
It's the day after
puppies,
Claire's.
puppies is the same birthday as you.
Was it?
It is. It is.
Mm,
You and Puppy are birthday twins.
yeah. No, I'm taking Haley up to Norwich to do some shopping. She wants to get
Nice.
her eyebrows waxed and her nails done.
Does she? Oh,
Yes.
she's at that age.
Yep. She
Oh, that's
constantly
cute.
wants to put makeup on.
Does she?
Yeah, so I
Oh,
bought her like a little starter makeup kit, like foundation and
like clown
shit,
makeup.
whatever else you put on your face.
I don't know.
Don't know.
I'm not about it any time of day.
Hmm.
Nope.
Out of my space.
Yeah, I'm a joy to live with.
Oh, I can imagine.
So what else you been up to?
Now
Now,
sun's come out though.
no.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of
Yeah.
summer coming our way.
Oh, so happy about it.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be really nice the weekend actually. So, but I think we're going car shopping at the weekend, so that's not going to be great. I don't mind car shopping, but I do need a day to just do I just want to lay in the garden for the day.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, and I want to be fed, and I want to be
Mm.
watered, and I want to be changed. I don't want to have to move.
No, I'm glad that finally we've got some nice weather and we've got some sun and the skies are nice and blue instead of being overcast and dreary.
Yeah, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
It does. So yeah, but full disclosure, we're recording this before I go on holiday. So because I'm sure when I get back from holiday and we record the next podcast, I'm going to be like, oh, I had an amazing holiday. How was your birthday and all that? So yeah,
that's true.
just so you know.
Right, random blam, go.
After you. A random blam. My biggest fear is zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
live my life around that fear. So I have pretty much always got some kind of weapon to hand just in case shit goes down and, the zombies come and get me.
Okay, well, based on that then, my random blam is that I'm absolutely terrified of going over a bridge and driving into the water. Like that's my absolute worst fear. So much so that when we're looking for cars now and Josie's like, oh, this one's a 3-door. I'm like, no, because if we go in that water, the kids ain't coming out because there's no doors on the back.
I mean,
That is
yours
my
is a very
worst.
realistic fear, and I feel like mine is a realistic fear, although, when I say that to people, they go, well, that's never going to happen, but I'm not too sure.
It's not really something that happens a lot. Like when I said to Josie, I was like, we can't have a 3-door car because,
Yeah.
we go in that water, that's it. And she's like, well, for all the other times when we've had a 5-car door and we've been in the water, we've been fine.
Well, that was good.
Lucky we had 5 doors. But obviously that's not something that's going to be happening. But I have been watching a lot of TikToks recently where the divers go in the water and they pull out the cars.
I've watched some of those lately as well.
Yeah, not happy about that.
No, it's terrifying.
Lost loved ones and things, and it's God, yeah, what a terrifying.
Oh, horrendous. Thing. But should you have the windows up or should you have the windows down?
Well, my thought is that I'm ready for it. Like the window's going down. You can't open your door because of the pressure, but the window down, you can get out. But what I have read as well is that depending on obviously where you go in, if it's just like a not a deep river or anything like that, then you can let the car settle. Once the car's settled, you can open the pressure equalizes. You can open your door.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'd be settled.
Calm and collected.
I'll just sit here and wait for the car to sink all the way to the bottom of the riverbed. Yep. I sit there patiently.
No,
I would be freaking out.
Yeah, window open, seatbelt off, zoom. Yep. I'm out before we've even hit the water.
Well, you wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, you don't you know, if you're taking advice from this, which I'm sure everyone is, yeah, don't take your seatbelt off before your car hits the water. Because
no, I've planned, but I'm seatbelt off out the window before we.
Well, you will be. Yeah, you will be out the window.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the thing.
As long as I'm not trapped in that car.
Yeah,
I'm all right. I'm
no,
all right about that.
Seatbelt on, window open, hit the water. Once the initial wallop has hit, take your seatbelt off, get out the window.
Yeah. You've also got the pressure of the water coming in though, so I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as just getting out the window.
Yeah, but once the water has gone over the doorway and you're like filling up like that, you would be able to open it, or not even opening. Like, I'd go out the window.
Yeah, I'm not happy about where this conversation's going, to be honest. This one's going to make you feel funny.
Great. I don't like it. I don't like the title of it. It freaked me right out. I was like, our exact messages was, what shall I title your episode? And you just sent me
the title of the episode.
Yeah. And I put, oh God, why?
All in capitals.
Oh God. Yeah.
Loads of exclamation marks.
Oh,
sorry.
Hideous. Well, before we do that. Morning. Morning.
I was waiting for it.
Morning.
You can't help yourself now. I kind of saw you hold back.
Morning. No, morning.
Yep.
Yeah. It follows into my actual life though, because like if I go out and people go morning, I go, and I have to really restrain not to go morning, or morning. No. Morning.
Yeah. So this one, I didn't know what to title it, to be honest.
What? And you decided you'd land on that?
Yeah. So the title of the episode, as you've rightly seen, is I clawed out my own eyes, and this is the story of Kaylee Muthart.
Oh, Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee.
Why?
So the term for removing one's eyes is called self-enucleation, or also known as auto-enucleation, and it is the self-inflicted removal of the eye. It is considered a form of self-mutilation and is normally caused by psychosis, paranoid delusions, or drugs.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning.
Idiocy.
There is mention of people clawing out their eyes. So between 1968, believe this or not, and 2018, which is what, 50 years, there were more than 50 documented cases of complete or partial self-enucleation in England.
The hell up.
50
Are you
people.
Serious? 50 people.
50 people. That's one a year has gone. No, I'm not. Just take them out.
Do you know what I'm over? These eyes.
I hate the sight of that. They're coming out.
Oh God.
So today I'm going to tell you the story of 20-year-old Kaylee Muthart.
Don't like it already.
Sorry.
It's very Jeepers Creepers-y.
Yeah. It's not, yeah.
It's not, yeah.
It's not great. I was going to say it's not great, but you know, it is what it is. So Kaylee Muthart lived in Anderson in South Carolina. And up until the age of 17, she had been a straight A student. So she always done really well at school. She was even in the National Honor Society, which I don't know what that is, but that sounds good to me. That sounds impressive. Like somewhere you want to be, doesn't it, when you're in school? Yeah, the National Honor Society. But after that, her grades began to slip. She got a part-time job and she worked every hour that she could because she wanted to save up for a car. And she'd also missed a lot of school due to a health condition. I think she had like a heart arrhythmia sort of condition. So she'd missed a little bit of school there, and she just kind of couldn't keep up with her studies. So her grades had started to slip. So what she decided to do, the best thing for her was to just take some time off of school. So she thought it would be better to have a break and take some time off of school and go back at it when things had settled down, rather than just carry on like plugging through and getting bad grades, because she was hoping for a scholarship, like a college scholarship, because she wanted to study marine biology.
Oh, love that.
Oh, I know. That was such a thing when I was at school. Everybody wanted to be a marine biologist. So by the age of 18, Kaylee had started drinking socially, but sort of like quite frequently. And she also began smoking weed. But she always said that she stayed away from any sort of more serious drugs because she had quite an addictive personality. And it was something that ran in her family as well, addiction. So she didn't want to get into anything heavier. I also found reference to the fact that she was a young mother, and I found information that she'd fell pregnant when she was 18 and gave birth to a little girl, but there's no other mention of the child throughout the story or the pregnancy or anything like that. There's not much about it at all, but it is documented that she also had a child when she was 18.
Maybe it's a vicious rumor.
Maybe. And then at the age of 19, while at a house party, she'd smoked a joint. She's always sort of around these group of friends, and they were her, she felt quite comfortable to do drugs with them. But she smoked a joint that made her feel very different to normal. And it gave her this like incredible high. And she obviously kind of wanted that again. And she would later Google the symptoms that she had. So it was like numb lips, which she would never normally get with smoking weed. And she said she had this feeling of being on top of the world. And she came to learn that the marijuana that she had smoked had been laced with either cocaine or crystal meth. Now, my knowledge of drugs is incredibly non-existent. Okay. So I don't know what the difference between crystal meth and meth or how it's ingested or anything like that. So if I get these wrong, I do apologize, because my knowledge of drugs is just non-existent.
Look, if you're going to talk about something, you could have at least done your research properly and gone out and, cracked up a...
tested some. Because this marijuana doesn't give me numb lips.
Yeah.
No,
how about this one?
Absolutely no intention of ever trying drugs or doing anything or even knowing what they are. But anyways, the marijuana that she smoked had been laced with a much harder drug. And this soon led to a massive downward spiral in Kaylee's mental health. And she ended up quitting her job. And she never ended up going back to school to finish her studies. And her relationship with her long-term boyfriend had started to break down. And what made things worse as well is that at the time she was suffering with undiagnosed bipolar disorder. So her moods were either super manic or, like incredibly up or incredibly down. And when her relationship with her long-term boyfriend finally ended, she had a mental breakdown. So to help her cope, she began smoking weed even more regularly and drinking to excess. And she'd now started taking the drug Xanax, which again, I believe that's an American drug. We don't have that over here, do we?
No, I
think it's quite addictive. So Kaylee also would later find out that her undiagnosed bipolar disorder made her more susceptible to drug abuse. And then despite finding a new job for herself, having kind of lost her boyfriend, and because of her drug addiction and things like that, she'd lost a lot of her close friends as well. She became very lonely and very unhappy, and she kind of yearned for the happiness that she'd felt when she'd had that laced marijuana. So whilst in the presence of an acquaintance, which I took to mean drug dealer, Kaylee tried smoking. Kaylee tried smoking meth for the first time.
No.
And this is how she described her experience. I stayed up for nearly 3 days and experienced hallucinations I wasn't expecting. When I looked in the mirror, I thought I saw blackheads coming out of my face, and I spent an hour picking at my skin until I drew blood.
Oh, God.
Now, this is why I've chosen this story, because it just baffles me.
Yeah.
That somebody went, God, that experience was absolutely awful. This is the damage that I've done.
I'm going to do it again.
I'm gonna do that again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that one
it's
again.
It's hard though, isn't it? It's really difficult. How many times have you heard people that have got absolutely pissed as a fart and they go, famous saying, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
The next morning when they're in pain and, they're still throwing up and all that. And then, hair of the dog and knocking it back. And you think, why'd you keep doing it? I've never been that person.
No,
never,
me either.
Ever been that person. I've never been. I mean, obviously I have got drunk, but I'm just not someone that enjoys that feeling. So I don't do it.
Yeah. So there was a time that I got incredibly inebriated once, and I won't do that again. And I never have done that again.
Yeah.
Because I didn't enjoy it. So that's why, I mean, there's a lot more to the story than that. But anyways, because of the damage that she'd done to her face, like picking at the hallucinated blackheads and the scratches and things, and she'd drawn blood, so she'd obviously got a lot of damage on her face. She was too embarrassed to go to work that evening, and when she sobered up, she saw that there was a video on her phone that she'd filmed while she was on meth, and what she saw just really shocked her. She was like, she said that she didn't recognize the girl in the video, that it wasn't her. She was erratic and she didn't stop like chattering, and it kind of scared her enough to steer clear of meth for the time being, and she would instead go on to start taking ecstasy.
Oh God.
But anyway, she felt that it was a safer option because she knew a lot of people that used it quite regularly, and they described the high as it was just like a party drug. So they took it when they was out at parties, and it just kind of made them feel free. Yeah. And she was like, great, that's what I want. Give me the ecstasy. But while on ecstasy, Kaylee became obsessed with studying the Bible. And due to her inebriated or high state while reading it, she began to believe that in order to become closer to God, she needed to take meth.
I'm pretty sure that's not in the Bible.
I feel like she's misinterpreted it somehow.
Yeah. Nowhere in the Bible does it say thou should get fucked off your nut on crack.
Thou needs to take meth buy it from Gary down the road.
That's it. Gary.
And it was at that point in Kaylee's life that she began smoking meth. And within 2 months of starting the meth journey, she'd progressed from smoking it to snorting it and then injecting it as often as she could.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have no knowledge of it. Josie said to me one time about a Coke nail. Well, I think it's something on the telly.
Oh, yeah.
She was talking about a Coke nail. And I was like, I thought it was for them to undo the top of a can because it slides under easy and you can prop open the can, but that's not what a Coke nail is, apparently.
You're a precious kind of lamb.
Yeah.
Never change. Never change.
Don't want to be ruined. But during this time, Kaylee's mum, Katie, quickly realised that her daughter needed help, but said she felt very helpless to actually do anything because Kaylee had left home at 17 and then from then hadn't had a permanent residence. She'd just been kind of like sofa surfing and living with different friends and things. And so she kind of tried to avoid seeing her mum as much as possible so that she didn't get like lectured or she didn't have to, her mum wouldn't see the state that she was in and kind of realize the gravity of the situation.
Yeah.
And whenever Kaylee's mum, Katie, she tried to help her, Kaylee always refused the help. She wouldn't commit to going into a rehab or a psychiatric unit. She didn't think that she needed to. She thought that she was in charge of her drug taking, and that she only took it when she wanted to take it. She didn't think that she was addicted. She felt like she could stop whenever she wanted, and that's obviously not the case.
Mm.
And because Kaylee hadn't shown any signs of being a danger to herself, her mum couldn't have her committed.
Right.
She knew that that's kind of what she needed. She needed to be somewhere and monitored, but because she's not ever displayed symptoms of wanting to harm herself or anything, then it just wasn't an option.
God, you'd feel so scared, wouldn't you? Like, you'd feel like you'd just lost your child,
Yeah.
seeing them just having no proper address. You know that they're taking drugs.
Yeah.
Hideous.
Yeah. And I think she'd lost her job as well because of the drug taking. She'd lost her other job that she'd just got. So, but a few months, like sort of after the initial meth taking, things were very different for Kaylee. And on the 4th of February 2018, Kaylee's mum approached her again with the idea of going to rehab. And this time, Kaylee actually agreed to go, but the program would start. She said, I'll agree to go, but I'm not going till next week. So that was fine. And during that conversation between Kaylee and her mum, she'd mentioned to her mum that she didn't want to live in this world anymore as it was too evil. And unbeknownst to Kaylee, that conversation was recorded. So Katie, her mum, then had evidence that she was a harm to herself. She didn't want to be in the world anymore. She was thinking of suicide. So she could finally get a court order in order to get her committed. But the next day, which was Monday, so it's Monday the 5th of February, despite her friend's best efforts to stop her, Kaylee bought some more meth from her local drug dealer and injected a larger dose than she'd ever done before.
Oh, God.
And her high continued into the morning of Tuesday the 6th. And she'd been awake for 48 hours. She wasn't just high, she was like hallucinating as well. And she believed that the friend that she'd gotten high with had gone to church. So she wanted to meet up with her friend. So she travelled along the railway track that led to the church. And it was 10:30 a.m. in the morning. And despite it being bright sunshine out, to Kaylee, everything looked really dark and really gloomy, and everything was like really sort of depressive. And apart from a light post that was in the distance, she could see a light post and it was very bright and it was quite vibrant, and she saw a white bird perched on top of it. And upon seeing the bird, Kaylee had the realization that someone had to sacrifice something in order to right the world, to rid the world of its evil. And she knew that she was the person to do that. And there was no doubt in her mind at all that that was what she had to do. So in her hallucinative state, Kaylee thought that the world would end and everyone that she loved would die if she didn't tear out her eyes immediately. And she was 100% sure that that's what she had to do. That burden alone fell to her. So in order to save the world, she had to rip her eyeballs out.
Oh, God. I can't even touch my own eye. I'm not one of those, but you know when someone goes, oh, I've got something in my eye, and then they go,
Plop it out.
that's not me.
She didn't even really like hesitate about it. She said there was a moment where she kind of was like on her hands and knees, sort of pounding the ground, going, why me? Why me? But at that point, one of her flatmates, like the someone that she was room sharing with, had driven past and saw her and shouted out the window and just sort of asked her, you know, I've locked the house. Have you got another key? And she took that as a sign from God that she was the key to saving the world. Goodness. So she was like, oh, well, he's just confirmed it then, isn't he? I am the key to say, he's just asked me if I have a key, and I am the key.
That's mad, isn't it? I think that's someone like making things fit. Do you know what I mean? Like making it fit what you're already sort of thinking.
It's called confirmation bias, in that if you're thinking something, any outward thing comes in, confirms what your belief, called confirmation bias. It's really interesting, actually. But yeah, if you truly believe something, then anything that you hear, you make fit your belief. So without hesitation, Kaylee pushed her thumb, forefinger, and middle finger into each of her eyes.
How can you even do that?
She gripped each eyeball.
Oh, God.
Twisted them, and then pulled until each eye popped out of its socket.
Jesus Christ. How would you not even pass out with pain? I can't even tell you how yippy that makes me feel.
It's making me eyes water.
Oh, God, it's turning my stomach.
Kaylee said she didn't feel any pain at all. No pain. So I'm guessing the meth kind of, covered that. But she said that although she didn't feel any pain, it was a huge struggle.
Oh, God.
And it was the hardest thing that she'd ever had to do. Which, it's not, I can't even imagine what that would take for her to do. But a pastor from the church that she'd been on her way to, but she was near the church. Pastor. From the church nearby heard her yelling at the top of her lungs, and she was yelling, "I want to see the light." And she was just screaming. That's what she was screaming. And the pastor man ran past.
Was that your impression of him running?
Like that. Ran over to her and
went, aye, what's going on here?
Morning. And he obviously saw, that she, in her hands, she had each eyeball in her hand, and she'd crushed them. She'd not only ripped them out, she'd crushed them. And what makes it even worse, Kate, is that they were still attached.
Oh, God.
I don't know why that makes it so worse, but it just makes it so much worse that they were still attached.
It can't be any worse. So horrendous.
But the pastor restrained her as much as he could. And
it's a bit late now.
Yeah. He because she was so high and so, hyped up on drugs, it actually took about 7 or 8 men to hold her down before the paramedics could get to her. And she just weren't let anybody near her. So the paramedics actually had to sedate her with ketamine before they could kind of, The
pastor was probably thinking, like, she's possessed.
Yeah, absolutely.
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, it was squashed eyeballs. Gosh.
Is that the end of, like, the gory bit?
Yes.
Okay, because, it's making me feel bad.
Sorry. But once she was sedated, once the paramedics got there and they sorted her out that she was sedated, she was transferred onto a stretcher and airlifted to the nearby hospital. And devastatingly, this is just awful, while all that had been happening, Kaylee's mum had been on her way to the courthouse with this evidence to get her daughter committed.
Oh.
She was like a day too late.
Oh, God.
Which is sad. But at the hospital, doctors had to perform emergency surgery to fully remove Kaylee's eyes and prevent infection. But there was no way they could save her sight. She damaged the optic nerve and she smushed her eyeballs. So Kaylee woke up in hospital 2 days later, and she was fully aware of what she'd done. She remembered everything. She knew that she was now that was it. She's completely blind. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, she suffered from severe headaches behind her eyes, like the sockets and in her temples,
behind her holes,
behind her eye sockets, and would continue to suffer for several months with these. But she was determined not to take any drugs to help. There was this, I can't remember the drug. It was Tylenol, maybe, that she said that she would take, but nothing else.
That's like
Paracetamol.
An everyday
Yeah.
painkiller, like we would take paracetamol.
Paracetamol. But she didn't want to take anything else because she didn't want to start that
Like, yeah, start it
addiction
all off
again.
again. Yeah.
And while she'd been in the hospital, she hadn't experienced any withdrawal symptoms from the meth, and that she was off drugs now, so she didn't want to risk anything else. She also spent a few weeks in a psychiatric
Protecting my
facility.
eyes.
Uh-huh. So while she was in this psychiatric facility, she was finally diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and she was given the correct medicine, and she underwent a lot of therapy to now sort of come to terms with the fact that she was going to be blind for the rest of her life. And now from that point on, there isn't much known about Kaylee anymore. She's got a very quiet life. She's not sort of public about what happened and things, but it is known that she went to a school for the blind, and she finished her schooling. I don't know what she studied, but she finished her schooling at the school for blind. She learned Braille. She hasn't done any drugs
Good for you,
since
Kaylee.
the incident in 2018. And in 2020, she received a new pair of prosthetic eyes.
Oh.
So although they didn't, function, they were eyes. And she said she's actually happier now than she ever has been.
That's hideous.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that.
Sorry.
At all.
I know.
Oh God.
I just couldn't believe it.
Isn't it
that was even a thing?
Yeah,
that was even a thing. What the human body can do.
Yeah. So have you got any information about these 50 people in the last 50 years that have done this? Were they also on drugs, or does it happen for an array of?
It's normally caused by psychosis, paranoid delusions, or drugs. And I'm guessing the drugs would induce the paranoid delusions and the psychosis. So it's not going to be a sane person that just, I'm going to tear out my eyes. It's normally in a hallucinative. What should I do
today? I know.
Pour out my eyes.
It'd be easier for me because I've got big eyes.
Yeah, you could probably grab them quite easily. Mine are.
I can pretty much get hold of the side of them, but
gosh.
No, I'm funny about anything to do with eyes or kneecaps. It's horrible. Horrible. Yeah, I can't watch if I'm talking to Claire and she goes, "Yeah, just need to take out my contact lenses."
Don't tear out your eyes.
I'm like, "Oh God," and I leg it. And I don't want to be around it. Yeah, she's forbidden from taking her contact lenses out without giving me prior warning. Can't stand it.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, no, that's awful and horrendous.
Yeah.
And I dread to think of any pictures that I might find. I'm thinking that when I do the YouTube edit for this, there's probably, other than like pictures of her and maybe where she lives, there's probably not going to be any picture. I don't want to post any pictures of like people's eyes hanging out.
Yeah. There isn't any. There's no graphic pictures. There are pictures of her, of her before and of her after.
Okay.
But there's no graphic pictures or anything. So don't worry, guys.
It's incredible, isn't it, that the power of chemicals, drugs, chemicals, things that we put into or we introduce to our bodies, and the reaction that it has, like both good and bad.
Hallucinations is something that really, really perplexes me, actually. The fact that your brain can show you something that isn't real.
Yeah.
That really perplexes me. The fact that she fully believed that the world was going to end. Or that she fully believed that she had these blackheads on her face that she could see and she was trying to get them.
Yeah.
That really, really baffles me. That isn't real. How could your sight show you something that isn't there? Drugs just terrify me, and I won't even try a bit of a vape or anything. It just terrifies me.
You're so
I
cute.
don't. Yeah. But saying that, I do get poison put in me every 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's not by choice, but yeah, I mean if someone was going to go, let's drop some chemo tonight, you'd
all
be
over
like,
it.
Already done it.
Done it. Over it.
Already had like loads of it. So
I hate the thought of something foreign like in my
Yeah.
body. I hate the thought of that. That's why when I have chemo, the thought of the chemo makes me so sick. I don't think it's the chemo that makes me sick. I think it's the thought of it in my
Yeah.
body.
You're repulsed by your
Yeah,
own
I hate the
medication.
thought of these things in my body. I don't like it.
Yeah, and like chemo's
Mm.
brutal as well, isn't it? Chemo
Yeah.
like kills the good stuff as well as like the bad stuff. So it
Yeah.
makes you feel like shit. But
yeah,
hideous, perplexing indeed. I guess
Yeah.
you have to find your rock bottom. And I guess for Kaylee, it was pulling her own eyes out that she was like, maybe I won't do that anymore. But no, drugs are not for me. They've never really been for me. I'm a whoopsie when it comes to things like that. It scares me.
Yeah.
And now this has scared me even more. So definitely
Stay away from
no chance.
drugs, guys.
Exactly. I'll stick to my caffeine addiction.
I've even come off of caffeine, you know. I've been having lovely lemon water.
Oh God, you are boring.
If you have enjoyed listening to our episodes, make sure you rate us and leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening.
We absolutely love hearing from you guys. So you can also help support our show by donating to our Buy Me a Coffee link. We will make sure that you get a massive shout out and a big thank you in our next week's episode.
You can also follow us on social media at Perplexed Podcasts. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and if you want to see more videos and blooper reels, subscribe to our TikTok and YouTube channels.
You can also email us your stories at perplexedpodcasts@gmail.com.
And you can find all the relevant links in the episode descriptions. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Jacket potato is my favourite. I love jacket potato.
What do you have on your jacket?
Just cheese. A copious. Josie, she said to me yesterday, we had jacket potatoes. Yeah, and butter, obviously. She said to me yesterday, she was like, right, that's enough cheese on your plate. And I was like, oh,
she cut you off.
She cut me off.
She was like, intervention.
And then so I'm eating the rest of my jacket potato. Like I've used up all my cheese now, and I was really sad about it.
So you just had tater.
Just had tater.
Just naked tater.